Now, in the history books, children will read about the one-term presidency of Joe Biden. Historians will probably lie about it and said it was successful. But the question remains, who was really pulling the strings and making the decisions for those 4 years? The Senate held its first hearing today on Biden's cognitive decline. Republicans were looking for answers on who is making the pivotal calls and then demanding changes so this can never happen again.
The 25th Amendment requires actions by the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president incapacitated, incapable of carrying out his or her duties. There doesn't appear to be any accountability or any remedy when they fail to act as they did in this case.
They lied to us for 4 years, and we know they lied. They know they lied. It's why they're not here.
What did the president actually know or even understand, and who was actually running the government? President Biden will have to answer to history for what's happened the last 4 years.
Who was running the show? Pretty important question, don't you think? Now, Democratic lawmakers completely boycotted the hearing. No surprise there. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, Vermont Senator Peter Welch were the only two in attendance. Here to tell us more is Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, of course, you were in the room today. I mean, the Democrats didn't want to give you guys any room to kind of go back to the Biden failures. And Dick Durbin tried to turn things around and say, look, we should be talking about Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and their excesses. Your response to that?
Well, I think it's a shame. It shouldn't be that surprising, though. Effectively, they ignored the hearing today like they ignored Joe Biden's cognitive decline. They lied to the American people. So did the legacy media. And I think the American people deserve to know. I've been asked time and time again over the years, who is actually running the country? You know, having a capable president is actually kind of important in our constitutional republic. It's the one person that's actually elected by the whole country. And so when the president signs something, whether it's a bill or a treaty or a letter, he is speaking on behalf of the American people. Clearly, Joe Biden's decline and his inability to do those things was on full display. You've had whistleblowers come forward saying he couldn't even find the bathroom in the Oval Office. So this was, I think, in my view, a scandal bigger than Watergate. And so in addition to just looking backwards and trying to figure out who was actually running the country, these left-wing radicals who opened up our borders and caused inflation and had a wandering foreign policy, what do we do about it moving forward? How can you have a mechanism actually that would address this? And you know, I've said often that Joe Biden is the worst president this side of Woodrow Wilson. Ironically, you had the same problem 100 years ago with Woodrow Wilson where he was incapacitated and his wife was running the government. That's probably what was happening here too. So this is going to continue, Laura. We're going to continue. We're going to seek documents. One thing that came out of today, we're going to seek documents from the archivist. They're supposed to keep a paper trail of when he actually authorized the auto pen. We'll see if they actually did that or not.
Well, Senator, Jake Tapper made an appearance on C-SPAN today. He published that supposed tell-all, a lot of anonymous sources, but he took some questions from callers. Watch.
Back in 2020, you had an interview with Laura Trump, and she even told you, and you said it was a stutter. If you watch Fox News or News Nation or even Newsmax, every night they would bring up what the problems were, how he couldn't talk, how he didn't know what he was doing.
I mean, I ran those clips on my show, too. I understand that people feel like that a lot of these clips and a lot of these acuity issues were known, and I don't disagree.
Senator, this whole exercise on hawking this book, and I reported, but I understand basically your pain and your doubts. I mean, I just don't think anyone's buying any of this. The media has done irreparable damage to itself after Russia collusion, you know, the Letitia James reporting, all of that, and now this. I don't see how they recover, frankly, in our lifetime.
I don't think so. They had no credibility before. They have less than zero credibility now. And you got to remember, what was this really about on their side? They knew he was in cognitive decline. He knew he was incapable. They were just so obsessed with making sure President Trump never got back in the Oval Office again. It's the same reason why they defended all the lawfare that sought to put President Trump in jail for the rest of his life so he couldn't get back in the Oval Office. And now here we are. President Trump defied all the odds, had the greatest political comeback in American history, and the American people saw through all those lies too, because they were looking at all of this stuff on video too, on the news. So I think we ought to continue this pursuit. We got to make sure people are held accountable and this never happens again.
Well, there are a number of people who know exactly what happened, and I think we know who they are. But whether they will talk or not, that remains to be seen. Senator, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.